There was a time when breakfast was simply a means toward getting a toy inside a cereal box. There was that time in my childhood, maybe in yours too, where the primary reason for getting up and getting a bowl of cereal was if you worked your way toward the bottom of the bowl of cereal, there would be a toy or a prize or something, maybe stickers or temporary tattoos in the box of cereal. And this guided my request for what kind of cereal I'd ask my mom to get, what had the toy, what had the best merchandise in the box. And at some point, I'm proud to say, I grew out of just wanting the toy in the box of cereal. But then for a while, the next step is, oh no, the cereal's what's important, and I would want to get the cereal that had the most number of marshmallows or the greatest chocolate to grain ratio, whatever was the closest to eating candy or cookies. And so I lived in an era when we celebrated that there were cookies like Cookie Crunch cereal or Lucky Charms with marshmallows in it, or Cocoa Krispies that turned the milk chocolatey, all kinds of cereals that were very, very close to blurring the line between dessert and breakfast. Now, grown-ups, of course, do the same thing. Where is the line between, say, a muffin and a cupcake? I don't know. But even that, at some point, wears thin. At some point, adult me realized that eating the cereal that is all sugar and zero substance leaves you feeling hungry later in the day. And at some point you realize, the point of breakfast is actually to give me the nutrients, the energy I need to do the rest of my life, to have the energy and focus so that I can do what the rest of the day will bring. At some point, in other words, you leave behind the desire just to get a box of candy and just to get a prize inside, but instead for what will actually sustain you, what will actually nourish you. And it's funny, something similar happens with Jesus and the crowds who had been following him. Last week, we heard the story about Jesus having compassion on this crowd that's followed him, and they're running low on daylight, but instead of sending them away, Jesus provides them with this amazing meal where everybody gathered gets to eat. And 5,000 people at least are fed with 5 little loaves and 2 fish. It's this amazing moment, and the next day, the crowd is looking, where did Jesus go? We're interested in more of this. And when they finally find Jesus, they're like, hey, Jesus, where'd you go? And his response is kind of standoffish at first. Yeah, I know you're here not because you've seen signs and wonders from God, but because you got your fill of bread yesterday, and because you would like to get another free lunch, or because you're after something short-term like that. But Jesus says, you come to the right place, but let me give you the right reason. Ultimately, Jesus says he's come not just to offer one day's lunch, but to offer a lifetime of what really sustains us. A lot of church folks know this verse that comes out of the book of Deuteronomy that Jesus himself quotes in his famous showdown with the tempter in the wilderness. He says, human beings don't live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from God, right? And Jesus takes that seriously himself, that people need more than just a loaf of bread or a day's lunch, but that what he's come to give us is something more substantive than just a snack or a prize inside a box. What's sad is that even though we know this story, even though we've heard this story, and the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 is one of those stories everybody knows. It's the one miracle besides the resurrection that shows up in all 4 Gospels. Even though we know that story, and we know Jesus' point that we're made for more than just filling our bellies, so often we come to Jesus treating him like he's the box we got to get to the bottom of to get the real prize, or that Jesus is just here to give us spiritual marshmallows rather than something that really sustains us. It's easy to want to turn Jesus into our personal lucky charm, that if I go to church well enough or frequently enough, or I show up and pay my dues, give my offerings, then I can cash in a couple of favors. And when I need something from Jesus, that's what he's here for. We go to Jesus like he's just one day going to give us the prize inside the cereal box. Or we imagine that what we want is just sort of like this sort of empty, saccharinely sweet, feel-good kind of religiosity that makes me think that because God's on my side, I'll always be lucky, or I'll get a good parking space, or that God basically just wants me to be happy, carefree, and indifferent to the needs of the world and of others. Jesus is not offering those things. Jesus isn't the cereal with the marshmallows in it. Jesus isn't the cereal with a prize inside. Jesus offers himself like bread that gives life to the world, like something that really sustains us, something that will fill us and enable us to be what we're supposed to be in the world. So Jesus is the right place to come. The question, though, is what do we think we've come for when we encounter Jesus? If we keep gathering thinking Jesus is just eventually going to give us some prize inside the cereal box, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. But if we come saying, Jesus, we will trust that you'll give us what we need, that you'll make us more fully alive, that's exactly what we've been aching for. That's exactly what we've been hungry for, even if we didn't know it. That's the conversation we're going to have this coming Sunday as we move from a miracle about bread for bellies to Jesus as the one who sustains us with his very own life for the whole world. Join us for that conversation. See you then.